to GamePoints episode 225. Your weekly get together. We talk about recent gaming news. I'm, as always, your host, Stephen Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, we have some new game announcements. Nothing too major, but a lot of cool stuff on there. Assassin's Creed Valhalla gets leaked, so we'll be talking about our first impressions on that trailer there. We have, what else do we have on docket? Microsoft may be buying Warner Brothers. We'll definitely take a look at that. The possible price of what next-gen game is going to look at, and some horrible fucking allegations coming out of the EVO community right now. So we're going to get into all of that before the show is over with to varying degrees. But first, I want everyone here to know that this is an audience interactive podcast, which means if you're watching here live at twitch.tv/GamePoints, feel free to join in the conversation. I want to know what your thoughts and ideas are on the topics we're going to be discussing. Try to keep it respectful and germane to the topic on hand. If you can't join us live, however, you can also comment down below at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. I do want to know what you guys' opinions are on these topics, and let us know if we're wrong. Someone a couple of weeks ago actually let us know we were wrong on a topic, and I forgot to bring it up on next show for a correction. So thank you,
perfect.
guy who that was. I meant to make a note of it and just never did.
That is utterly horrible.
Literally a month ago or so when that happened, too. And I kept saying I should bring it up, and now it's just past the expiration point.
No, see, what's funny is you talk about us being wrong and being called out on it. We're wrong all the time.
Yeah.
So it's the calling out that's the unique part. It's not us being wrong. It's someone telling us about it.
It was you that was wrong because it was about Trackmania. Because I knew nothing about it and I was relying on your expertise, and you just got all kinds of shit wrong.
Cool. I don't feel that bad.
No, don't. That said, I do want you guys to please let us know. And let me just adjust my camera, just touch there, on live adjusting because I was late. David?
Yes.
How's that new game working out for you that you've been playing? What's it called? I can never remember its name.
Evorion? I think we talked about it last week.
Did we talk about it last week?
Yeah.
It's essentially Minecraft build your own ship for the most part, right?
No.
Okay.
It's more like Space Engineers mixed with Privateer.
Okay. But everything's blocky. It has that... I meant Minecraft visual style.
It's voxel based, so specifically, no, not Minecrafty.
Okay.
Because I've always felt that there was a distinction. Like, Minecraft is very much the only squares, very blocky Java look, whereas voxels are squares, but you can also make rounded shapes with them.
Ah, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes... Okay, I retract my Minecraft statement.
The game I'm playing allows you to make spheres.
Okay, I retract my Minecraft statement in its entirety. I've only seen like 5 minutes of it, and then immediately went, I'm either going to hate this, or I'm going to sink 200 hours into it. Either way, I can't afford to play it.
Yeah, I'm at about 90 hours.
Yeah, no thank you. But 90 hours isn't necessarily a bad thing for a game as cheap as that is, considering that we're looking down the barrel of a massive price increase for the next generation of games. I shouldn't say massive, but it is a hefty one.
Yeah.
And this comes from innocently enough, a press release where it was for NBA 2K21. And they just kind of put this in here with no fanfare or anything like that. And I get why. You have to eventually announce a price sooner or later, but you don't want to draw attention to any kind of increase because it causes, well, what we're going to talk about right now. During the cover reveal of NBA 2K21, we got pricing for the upcoming game as well. And this is from the press release, what I'm about to say. NBA 2K21 will be available at $59.99 on current generation platforms. The PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X version of NBA 2K21 will be available for $69.99. Now, David, these two sentences are roughly a small bit of the entire press release that came up here, but they are by far the most important part of the entire release, because this is the first time we have had any kind of confirmation of the almost typical $10 increase of games that happens when you have a new next generation come out. Now, it didn't happen with PlayStation 3, but it did, or PlayStation 4 rather, but it did when PS2 went to PS3, and it did when PlayStation 1 went to PlayStation 2, I believe. Could be wrong on that.
I don't know, maybe you're right. Super Nintendo games used to be $80. What do you
Super Nintendo games used to be like $100. I remember Final Fantasy 3 when it first came out was $89.99. Same with Donkey Kong Country. So
games are expensive. Next-gen games are actually going to be more expensive than last-gen games. I think we've all seen it coming. Just especially with how aggressively companies have been trying to make more and more money out of every single game that they release. and starting out with a higher price from the get-go.
Is this going to derail you from buying anything at all? Is
No, but I
$10
don't
enough to keep you from spending?
I
on a
don't buy
game?
new games, period. I don't buy new games at $60. I'm not going to buy new games at $70. It makes literally no difference to me.
Okay, I was just curious. I do want to know what you all think out there.
I buy last year's games for $20. That's what I do.
What do you say about the argument of people who say games have never increased in price and it's getting more and more expensive? That this is necessary.
Okay, I feel like you had two different statements. But the
Okay,
first part
so,
is just
go ahead.
factually incorrect. Games have increased in price.
How
Maybe
so?
you haven't been alive long enough to see games increase in price.
No,
But
not ever. But since the PlayStation 3, games haven't increased in price. $60 has been the industry standard for 10 plus years now.
That's true. And I used to be able to get a double cheeseburger from McDonald's for $1. Things change.
Okay, so
Get
you're not
over it.
having any bit of that argument at all.
No.
Okay.
Now, what you should be mad about is games going up, but you not getting paid more. That's a whole other thing.
How about, because I'm in line with you as far as that goes. $70 today is still probably cheaper than $60 was 10 years ago.
Mate,
I have to take a look at inflation, but it's at because you're right. Cheeseburgers used to cost like $1 at McDonald's, and now they're like $1.52 each or something like that. Inflation.
Name me a fast food restaurant that still has a dollar menu.
Yeah, it's all like $1.50 menu at least.
Yeah, it's all value menus now, right? $2, $3.
So that addresses that argument. That's something that was going around here. And keep in mind, I am bringing these up not necessarily because I believe them or I am for or against it, but because I want people to know what the conversation is around them. Step 2, what do you think about the idea that games cost more and more and just don't make as much money as they used to and need to increase their price?
Again, that's kind of two different things. Games do cost more to make, at least AAA games, that we know. We've talked about that before. There's been all kinds of stuff about it. Games not making as much, I don't know that that's true. I don't really believe it, especially with how overly monetized everything is. I can't talk.
The first argument about the game price staying static and going up to $69 is the consumer argument, where people are bitching about like, oh my god, you're going to jack it up to $69.99. I'm not paying for this. This one that I'm mentioning right now is the publisher argument, where they're like, hey, we have to make more money.
And they've been trying to supplement that money with all of their microtransactions and DLCs and all the other things.
Which is why I don't accept their idea of when they say, hey, games haven't increased in price for the past 10 years. I call bullshit on that. Because they have.
Kind of have.
They absolutely have. Additionally,
games are way more expensive now.
Yeah. Additionally, when they say, hey, game's more expensive. Okay, cool. I'll buy that. Then why are you all saying you're posting record profits nonstop? I remember when Activision Blizzard said, hey, we had a record quarter. We're laying off 800 people.
Yeah, that happened.
So you can't tell me in one hand, hey, we need to make more money on games because games are way expensive, and then on the other tell me you have record years. You can't tell me you need to make more money on the upfront cost by selling a game for $70 while simultaneously releasing the best-selling media property ever.
Well, capitalist pig 21. Isn't that exactly what they're supposed to do?
Yes. I'm not saying raising the price is a bad thing. I'm fine with them raising it up to $70. Shit, they can charge as much as they can get away with as long as people are willing to pay for it. My problem with these things is, as always when it comes to this shit, not what they're doing as much as them lying to me fucking about it.
Of course they're going to fucking lie about it. No company
lie.
on earth is going to come out and say, hey, guess what, fuckos? We're raising the prices of all our shit because we want more of your goddamn money, but you're going to buy it anyway. Suck a dick.
I would much prefer them say that. It's the fucking lie that always gets me.
It's never going to happen.
You know what they could say?
You're living in a weird-ass fantasy land if you think companies are going to come out and say that kind of thing.
Hey, Penguin, yeah, exactly.
Jack up their prices and tell you to eat it.
You know what they can say, though?
In the nicest possible
You know what they can say that's not a lie? They're like, hey, we're raising it from $60 to $70 because that's just inflation. To keep up with inflation, we have to raise from 60 to 70. I'm fine with that.
All of your counter arguments still work.
But
okay, but what about all your record-setting profits?
Because their counter arguments, what they're saying is, we have to increase this price because games are costing more. But that insinuates then that they're making less money off of them when they say that. It's just the way they're saying. I don't like feeling like I'm being lied to. Just tell me up front. We're just going to charge $70 instead of $60. And if they would just leave it at that and walk away, they don't have to justify it. They don't have to explain it. Just say, yeah, they're going to be $69, like what this press release here did.
No, I was going to say, this press release didn't justify anything. It just said, hey, guess what? The game's $70.
Yes. But when pressed about it is when like they're asked about it, they start kind of trying to think of all these fucking excuses. It's like, guys, no. Just fucking tell me it's $70, okay? It's always, I fucking hate the feeling of being lied to or being sold bullshit. This is why I hate it even when it's like a good thing. Like when fucking David Jaffe, the day before E3, way back in yesteryear, said, no, I'm not making Twisted Metal. And then the next day, fucking rolled out in the fucking Sweet Tooth ice cream truck.
Dude, you're going to have to change your fucking username. You can't drink the Kool-Aid and bitch about it.
No. See, once again, man, I am fine with them making as much money as they want. I have no problem if they wanted to charge $100 a game. Then it is up to me to choose whether or not to go from there. What I have an issue with is being lied to. These are two distinctly different things.
Sure. Whatever you gotta tell yourself.
I don't gotta tell myself shit. This is what it is. Telling me you're gonna sell me something for $70 is one thing. Okay, cool. Then lying to me about why you have to sell me about $70 is something different. I have no problem with the price. I have a problem with the
taken a marketing class? Do you understand how to sell a product? You've sold things before.
Yes, and you know what I never did? Fucking lie to people. Because I know how to accent the good things rather than try to get rid of the bad. You know how they could have spun this? Hey, listen. With this $10 increase, we're going to be able to help increase the quality of the games that are coming out to meet the demands and levels that you guys expect.
Oh, man. That'd be nice, except for they'd immediately have a season pass on sale.
That's fine. But they could still at least highlight it. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how you can take this $10 increase and spin it in any number of different ways?
Yeah, I'm sure they could.
But they don't. They always take the defensive reactionary route. Ekatora Penguin says your parents lied to you about Santa. Ekatora Penguin, I don't think you want to go down the road of how much I hate my mom and dad because of shit like that. Because they fucking lied to me as a kid. Let's see. Captain Ice Cold in chat says, in my opinion, anything above 30, I'm going to say dollars because you're using weird foreign monies there, Captain Ice Cold. It's too much for me. If there's a truckload of older, cheaper games for me to play, if Valhalla's $60, I'll just wait for a year, grab the Mega Ultra. Yeah. So you're bringing up a good point, Captain Ice Cold, where you're saying you just wait for it to go cheap. That's something that's also true, too. The $70 price point, wait 6 months, it's immediately half that cost.
Like I said, the $10 increase doesn't matter to me at all because I have not bought a new video game at $60 in quite a while.
Yeah. And I think you and I talked about this on last show, how there is a plethora of shit. There is too much shit released now. You could have infinite monies. Let's say you are like Notch rich. Let's say you're like Bill Gates rich. And you could buy anything you want at any time. Cool. That's fine. But there is no longer enough time to consume all this shit.
Dude, I got 90 hours in some cheap space exploration game over the last 2 weeks, and I still haven't even played God of War yet.
Yeah, so there is, and more games are competing for that time now too, which is a whole nother thing that we have talked about ad nauseum on this show. But yeah, so for those of you who, by the way, think that this price is going to only hit next-gen consoles, expect this to also roll over to Steam and Epic and Uplay and Origin and all that good stuff. So just keep that in mind. David, do you have any final thoughts on this before we move on to what the next topic is going to be? And I want to address chat before we go to that.
Of all of the things that they could have put this on, it's still fucking hilarious to me that it's on a yearly sports game. Of all the ways that it could have been like, here's the new battle, like here's the new some Star Wars something 1313's coming out, whatever. Nope. NBA 2K21.
You know
That's
what's
the one.
funny is I think the last price increase when we went up from $49.99 to $59.99 was also like we found out about that through Madden, I think. Forgive me, it's been like 13 years, but I think we found out about that price increase through Madden, another sports game of some kind, because one thing that is guaranteed to be on any console at launch is a sports game. Whatever that year's sports game is going to be. So, let's turn to chat real quick before we move on. Captain Ice Cold said it should still increase their income because there will be a ton of whales who will buy it day one, so I guess that's where they'll be making a killing. Yeah, there are... $10 is $10 to some people, but for most people, I don't think this is all that much. I think the reason why a lot of people are bitching about the price increase is to bitch. I don't think fundamentally there's that much of a difference between $60 and $70 these days. David, what do you think? It sounds egregious, but at the end of the day,
I mean, if you buy a lot of video games, then hell yeah. And $10 is $10. I'd probably, for the most part, rather have the $10. And on that note, I'd rather have the $70.
Once again, you're talking about going from 0 to 70, though.
Yeah.
If you were going to buy, what game are you playing right now? Avion or whatever it is.
Well, this is easy for me because there's a million video games that are already actually releasing at $90 because EA has been doing play the game on day one for $90, play the game late for $60, and that's been happening for a while. And guess what? I don't pay the extra money for the fucking $90 editions of those video games.
How much was Avion? What the fuck is this game called?
Avorion.
Avorion. Fuck. 40?
20.
20.
0.
Would you spend $30 on it?
No. I specifically didn't.
Okay.
Because that's how much it normally costs.
And when it was on sale, you bought it for 20. Okay.
Yep.
Just curious. I'm just trying to get a
$20. If video games are $20 or less, I'll buy them. If they're more than $20, I probably won't.
All right. Fair enough. Anyways, as we wrap this up, once again, let us know what you think down below. Thank you for your responses there, chat. David, why don't you go ahead and lead us off on this next one here, dealing with Assassin's Creed Valhalla's leaked gameplay.
So you might have noticed on the internet a million different videos popping up all over. Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay leaked early. There's about a half hour of it that was available online. Obviously, Ubisoft is doing everything in their power to pull it down as rapidly as possible. But even all the way up until this show aired, if you Google, not even really that hard, you can find Assassin's Creed Valhalla gameplay. And
you all know how to internet. You can find it.
Yeah, you found the show. You can find this gamply. It's
in fact, easy. The gameplay is probably easier to find than this show.
That is very true. And then I know this is alpha footage, and so the graphics don't look really as good as like the trailers or anything showed, but god damn, does Assassin's Creed look like a yearly franchise again?
Yes. So
it really does. This seriously looks like the last game with a skin on it. I don't know.
It is important you mentioned it is important to realize that this is alpha footage, and from what I understand, an alpha build from 5 months ago, which would be roughly a year before the game actually comes out.
Although I did get the Witcher vibe, Captain Ice Cold.
Let's pull away the graphical side of things. Let's pull away some of the weird... Yeah, let's pull away some of the weird animation things that are happening on there. Let's pull away some of the weird frame rate drops that are happening there. For a game that took time off took a year off to improve the formula, to kind of polish up the game, you're right. This sure as fuck looks just like Origins and Odyssey does to me.
Yep.
And hey, if you love those games, awesome. More power to you.
I mean, those games are good, but you could honestly just tell me that this is an expansion to one of those other games, and I would completely believe you.
Captain Ice Cold says, do you mean the new Witcher game, Witcher 4 Nordic Adventures? All the way down to the font on the text, it looked like The Witcher. It definitely had that vibe to it for certain. And they both would be in the same time period, so I don't know if that's an artifact of the fact that they're kind of that's just how the tech level was at the time, or if they're deliberately trying to ape off The Witcher. But goddamn, did it remind me a lot of The Witcher. That's what I saw when I was going around. It
looks like the last Assassin's Creed just with a skin of The Witcher on it.
It's certainly
all aesthetically different, but it doesn't actually look to be a different game.
It looks like it played the exact same way. You had the same weird loot drops, or you have like the common thing that you see in so many games these days, where it's like have some loot and you'll get like 50 items, of which only 2 of them are actually worth a damn to increase your build. That's what it seemed like. Admittedly, that could have changed. We are talking about an old thing on here. You had your 3 branching skill trees done up like Norse runes that I saw on there, but for the most part, that's just a cosmetic skin on other skill trees you've seen in previous games. Ubisoft has this thing where they have this thing where they know what people like at the lowest common denominator, and they make all their games cater to that now. And it's getting increasingly harder to differentiate between Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and Watch Dogs, save for the camera angle. Far Cry's in first person, Assassin's Creed's in third person with a focus on melee combat, Watch Dogs is third person with a focus on other random shit, tasing people. But they're very much all in the same boat. Ghost Recon Wildlands, same thing. That one had a focus on being ass. At the end of the day, though, it's all kind of just the same thing still. And the fact that taking a year off to develop this game, and this is what we're getting out of it so far. I mean, if you like Origins and Odyssey, okay, cool, fine, more power to you. I really liked Origins. I thought Odyssey was the exact same game as Origins with a shit ton of padding thrown in, and I didn't want that. I wanted something new. This looks to be Odyssey 2 to me, so I have zero interest at the moment. I'll probably still end up playing it just to have it.
And Odyssey is a cool video game, right? It's interesting. It's pretty.
You liked Odyssey, if I recall.
Yeah, I did like Odyssey, and then I did the open world thing, and I bounced off of it at some point, so I never beat that game. And I was like, maybe I'd be more interested in like a Nordic adventure, but looking at it, it's just going to be the same. This is a game that's going to be 80 hours long, and should have been
of which 20 hours is gameplay. The other 60 is finding all the question marks and
driving
killing
your boat,
all the
driving
bears.
your horse, and whatever else you're doing.
Odyssey was a slog for me to get through, but the main mission stuff was cool. I liked the main mission stuff, but all the side shit was literally the same 4 activities just over and over and over again, and it drove me insane, and I don't get any positive vibes from this. I'm sure we will have more information this weekend when Ubisoft does their, what is it, Ubisoft Live or Ubisoft Forward, which is happening later this week, so we'll get more information then. But yeah, this early leaked gameplay does not fill me with any vote of confidence. Once again, though, if you loved Odyssey, hey, I'm excited for you. You're going to get more Odyssey, it looks like. You want to wrap this up with any personal thoughts about this, David?
I mean, I'll still wait and see it. These games are it's going to sell well regardless. People are going to play this game. People are going to be excited about this game. Some people are going to love it. I don't think anyone's putting it on their Game of the Year list.
Does it feel like the Viking thing is already overdone?
I mean, what other Viking games are there
Besides
God of War? What is there?
Hey, there's Salty Frank. How you doing? I don't mean let's think about like cultural zeitgeist though, not just games. So there's God of War. You had Thor. You had that show Vikings. You have that show Outlander. There's a couple of TV shows. Outlander's not really Vikings, but it gives that like.
Those things are all kind of old.
I'm trying to think of something that we've had within the past 6 months that might have been Viking, and it's not necessarily popping up now.
I don't think Vikings are over or overdone necessarily, and that's why I was excited that a good Viking property actually could be pretty cool.
I'm not necessarily agreeing on the idea that they're overdone. It's just something I've been hearing tossed around a little bit, and I wanted to bring it up because there is some franchise wear and tear. I don't think Vikings are there yet, but it's definitely not zombies, for example. It's just one of those things that seems to be chasing a fad.
Maybe.
Anyways, let us know what you think down below. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. This is going to sound boring and businessy because, well, it's boring and businessy.
It's your favorite thing.
Yeah. Headline from The Information. And yes, that is the name of the site, The Information. Microsoft expresses interest in acquiring Warner Game Unit. Now, David, if you recall, a couple of weeks ago, we heard rumors that Warner Brothers was looking to sell their gaming unit because they're in kind of a pretty big hole right now. They're trying to get rid of their debt from when they bought Time Warner in 2018. Or AT&T, rather, is trying to get rid of the debt they bought Time Warner in 2018 for. So they're looking to shed stuff and WB Interactive was listed as one of the things that might be on the docket. A lot of people were interested in it. Sounds like Microsoft might be the one. Let's go back to the article here. Microsoft has expressed interest in acquiring the games division of Warner Brothers, the publisher behind the popular game franchise based on Batman, Harry Potter, and other characters, according to two people familiar with the situation. David, you know how I love anonymous sources, but at least this is two separate sources. Yeah. An acquisition of the business, which consists of game development studios scattered across the US, Canada, and UK, would help Microsoft expand its game-making capabilities of the Xbox Group. But Warner's parent, AT&T, hasn't decided yet whether to sell the business. It's weighing the possibility as it looks for ways of paying down its $154 billion in debt. That's billion with a B. When I first read that, I thought that said million. Which stems partly from its 2018 acquisition of Time Warner. Something to take note, David, that this does not come with the Warner Brothers IP. So it's not like Microsoft will be buying the game rights to Batman or Harry Potter or anything like that. But it
just
might...
the game division.
Yeah, it might. So like Rocksteady and stuff like that. Monolith, I think, would be another one too. The guys that made Shadow of War. It might, however, come with smaller IP like Mortal Kombat.
Maybe.
To sweeten the deal. Additionally, as we discussed when these rumors started first coming around for a bit, any sale of Warner Brothers Interactive might come with like exclusive 5-year licensing rights to Batman and Harry Potter. Or some kind of licensing agreement. But that would definitely increase the price of WB Interactive, maybe beyond what people are willing to spend, because those are very valuable IPs. Back to the article. Activision Blizzard, Electronic Arts, and Take-Two Interactive have seemingly expressed their interest in this company. One, this is all, of course, still rumor. Two, I think Microsoft would possibly be the best bet of everyone mentioned in here so far, because Microsoft is aggressively buying studios to be first party.
They want everything. They want everything on Xbox or Nextbox
or whatever it is, which will also be on PC, so that works out for both of us. But it sucks to be a Sony guy.
Yep. Of course, this is totally rumor, and it is as verified as what, Sony buying Silent Hills, or that one girl saying that there's a Nintendo Direct every week.
Yeah, that person kind of just fell off the deep end, didn't they? I was keeping tabs on that account for like a couple weeks when I realized, okay, they got nothing anymore. So what happened with the Hot Girl 69 thing, by the way, is more than likely they actually were talking to someone from Nintendo. They let like things leak twice, and then there was a massive internal email at Nintendo that said, shut the fuck up, whoever's saying this. We are going to find out who it is. And then all communication stopped, and she had no one else to talk to anymore.
Maybe. Or people just like to say things on the internet.
And every now and then one of them turns out to be true.
Yeah.
It's also a possibility.
And a vaguely related story, though, before we move on. Did you hear about Sony potentially buying Leo, the owners of Digital Extremes?
Yes. I had that listed on either last week's show or the week before. I think it was the week before, because it was on the show that you weren't around for.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a good chance that Sony will possibly own Warframe.
Yeah, that one seems less rumory at this point.
Yeah, in fact, that was actually coming from like Leo itself, I believe.
Yeah, so I just know that I'd read an article that their value on that company has gone like through the roof. So.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It's going back to chat here. Salty Frank says in reference to the Viking franchises, How to Train Your Dragon 1, 2, 3, 4, and Race to the Edge. That's 4 Viking movies right there. It's a good point, Salty Frank. It's double what we were talking about already. Equatorial Penguin says Blizzard announcing Shadowlands release date tomorrow. I don't know if that's a question or a statement.
Oh, I mean, it says is, so I'm guessing it's a question, and I don't know.
Yes, but there's no question mark, so I couldn't tell you. But if it's a question, if there's a question, we don't know. If it's a statement, cool. We'll find out tomorrow. Let's see. Okay, that's that. David, why don't you go ahead and take this one, because it's a shitty story, but it's something that you love. The content's not what you love.
Jesus Christ, man.
But the event is something that you love.
Okay. EVO, the fighting game tournament that happens yearly in Vegas, has been canceled. Now, the physical event had been canceled before, and we had a digital-only EVO coming. Now the whole damn thing is canceled. And as we've learned on Twitter over the last week, it's because, I hate dude. This is just rough.
This is rough. Yeah, this is bad.
I'm just gonna read the actual tweet from the actual EVO handle, whatever the fuck you call it. We are aware of the accusations that have been made against Joey Queller. The behavior in these accusations run directly counter to EVO's missions of building a safe, welcoming environment for all of our players and attendees. We take this responsibility seriously. Accordingly, Joey has been placed on administrative leave pending a third-party investigation. Please direct
Now-
inquiries, blah, blah, blah.
Who's
Now-
Joey Queller?
Joey Queller is a big fucking deal to EVO.
He's the guy that started it, isn't he?
He's the guy. More or less, yeah.
Also known online as Mr. Wiz, I believe.
And apparently this guy has been accused of pedophilia and is a complete piece of shit.
According to Twitter user,
allegedly, but you know what? If you're being alleged of being predators with underage boys, I'm just gonna call you a piece of shit.
Well, let's get into that in a second. According to Twitter user Pyronicari, who only goes by Mikey, Queller had a predatory behavior with underage boys of the late 90s, and he has, there'll be a link if you want to read it. There's a giant twit longer about all the shit that Queller was doing, like, hey, I'll give you $20 if you take pictures of yourself, do this, and I'll see if I can't let you into the event, things like that. Just abusing the shit out of his position and doing horrible shit.
Creepy, horrible, fucked up dude, basically.
Now, this is an allegation. However, Joey Queller more or less came out and said, yeah, this shit happened. I've changed over 20 years. Which means he's kind of admitting that he did it. So this falls into the category. Remember how we were talking about, like, I kind of recused myself, but we're talking about allegations and where you need proof, where you don't need proof, etc. like that. This falls into the category of there's an accusation. Queller admitted to doing something that has just gone completely on blackout. I think this shit's true.
Yeah, I think this shit happened.
Yeah, I think Joey Queller is a piece of shit.
I think he should be blacklisted from the whole industry and live in a cave.
Multiple companies started pulling out the next day. Capcom pulled out. NetherRealm pulled out. What else pulled out?
Everybody.
More or less everyone. Nintendo pulled out. Everyone pulled out except I think one, and they ended up it was like such a small thing. They sort of like, yeah, we're pulling out, but no one noticed they were pulling out because the big ones were leaving.
Yep.
And then because of all that, EVO Online is canceled. The guy who started it essentially is no longer with the company. EVO's kicked his ass out.
Yep. Complete separation.
Yeah.
And then Tony Cannon is acting CEO at this point.
EVO Online canceled.
Yeah.
Thoughts, David? Captain Ice Cold says, Jesus Christ, people, is it too hard not to diddle kids? I don't want to make a slanderous statement. I don't think he's actually being accused of touching anyone. I'm not positive on that, but he is being accused. Yeah, he is being accused of soliciting pictures. He is being accused of doing other shit. I don't have the information about him physically touching someone. And I know that's for some people a distinction without a difference, but in a legality sense, it sure as fuck is. So I have to say I don't know about that. However, I will say I would not be surprised if that came out.
Yeah, fuck this guy. Yeah,
I think that's the official GamePoint stance on this one. This is not one of those, well, it's a he said, she said, or in this case, he said situation. It's like, there was an accusation. The guy all but admitted to it. Fuck this guy.
Yeah, basically.
EVO will come back next year stronger.
That's true. Without this dead weight.
It might be called something else.
Might as well.
They might call it something else. I don't think they will, but they might. But it's not like the fighting game tournament will go away. One thing to mention, the fighting game community in general has had like an uproar of these fucking more than just like groping someone in public thing, but like actual people sleeping with underage kids over the past few days. We had like the whole Cinepi thing, if you remember, Cinepi, whatever her name is, if you remember that, if you've heard about that one, where a streamer was sleeping with an underage boy who was playing Smash Brothers or something like that when he was 14 and she was, I think, like 19 or 20 at the time. There has been like this massive exposing of this shit. Any comment you want to add on that? I'm only mentioning it to let people know, there's been a lot of this going on. This isn't the only story that's going on. But
I mean,
I also
it's everywhere, and it's not just the games and adjacent industries. It's literally everywhere. It turns out there's a lot of really fucking horrible people in the world, and as shitty as it is to hear all these stories and for victims to be dragged through it again and again, I would much rather us track all these fuckers down and shine the light on them than just let shit go. So,
I agree.
As crappy as this is and as frustrating as this is, it needs to be found out.
Yeah.
It needs to be fucking documented, and these people need to burn.
Yes. And please, for the love of God, if this shit is happening, even if you don't think anything is going to come from it, make a report with the police so at least there is a record of it. Just go, hey, I reported to the police, nothing happened. It's 20 years from now, because that way you cut off all the bullshit. People go, well, you should have fucking done blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, that's neither here nor there.
It's not actually that easy, and that's a whole other argument.
That is, but do you get where I'm coming from, at least, where it's like, you can report to police.
I get what you're saying, but it literally doesn't fucking matter, because some people that have been victimized are victims and are incapable of doing literally anything about it. So telling them, hey, you should just go to the police isn't really a good look.
I'm not saying they should just go to the police and that's be it. If you didn't go to the police, then fuck off. That's not what I'm saying. I am trying to encourage people to do this because you need as much ammo as you can when this shit comes up.
If you're capable, then absolutely we need to have all this shit reported. Or even better, if you work with someone who's a piece of shit and you see it happen, fucking tell somebody.
Right.
Don't just let it go. Don't just say, oh, that's so-and-so being so-and-so. No, if you see someone who's a piece of shit, you need to fucking tell people, and you need to let that person burn.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to drive at.
I don't care if you're boys. I don't give a shit.
That is what I'm trying to drive at, is that fake shit does happen, not often, but it does. But it's enough to put that seed of doubt in people. So when you bring the receipts, it buries these fuckers good.
Mm-hmm.
So try to say, if you're able to, please try to bring the receipts. Please try to go to the police. But I wanted to mention this because this is the biggest one that I've seen. But there has been a whole series of this shit happening specifically in the fighting game community over the past week, if you want to keep it right in games. And this is on the heels of the whole Ubisoft shit blowing up and some of the IGN shit blowing up and a whole bunch of other stuff. Every week we seem to have another community imploding with this shit. And yes, it is more than just the Mr. Wiz thing going on, but that is like the big one, and I don't want to take the entirety of the show and devote it to this because we could be here all hour long, and eventually either you or I are going to get so pissed off about something, we're going to say something that might be really bad.
That's fair. That being said, though, if this shit keeps coming out every week, we're probably going to bring it up every week because...
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying that we're not going to stop bringing it up. I just don't want to devote an entire hour to it. That's why I'm saying this is the big one. We're going to talk about the big one.
Yeah, I don't think we could discuss this rationally for an hour.
No.
Before you get some pitchforks.
I know I let you do that one because you're the fighting game guy on the show. So I just want to clarify, not because you love what's going on here.
I get it. EVO is canceled. David's sad. Give David the show about EVO being canceled.
You just know, like, for example, I've never heard of this guy before until 2 or 3 days ago.
You got to work on teeing things up a little better, I think.
Yeah, that's...
We'll see.
So they're making a Fallout TV show.
Yeah, we've never been really good at segues.
From the press release, Kyler Films teams with Amazon Studios to develop a series based on Fallout. Amazon Studios has licensed the rights to the worldwide best-selling game franchise Fallout with acclaimed producers Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy's Kilter Films. Those are the guys who make Westward, by the way. Attached to produce the product currently in development with a series commitment.
Cool.
What do you think, David?
I liked The Witcher.
Yeah, Witcher was good.
And, I mean, I'm trying to think of other more recent video game adaptations, and really all I can think of right now is Witcher and Castlevania, and I like both of those things. So I think that games maybe could pull off TV shows. I don't think necessarily they should be in movies, but Fallout has a pretty interesting universe. There's a shit ton of lore to pick from, especially if you go into the older games. I know story isn't really the driving force behind some of the newer ones, and they're more of just open world Bethesda slogs. I mean, that's kind of mean, but you know what I mean.
My
And
problem is, I
I think it
think.
could
Go ahead.
work. I think a
I don't think it can as a
post-apocalyptic,
TV show.
like, I think the problem will be when they pick like the Vault Dweller and they make the show about the Vault Dweller, and it's just one person doing things, and it's not necessarily like dark enough or gritty enough. But if they make it a more open show that has like a larger cast of protagonists, I think it would be actually pretty interesting.
My problem with it is I don't think Fallout's combination of really grim setting combined with slapstick corny humor will translate well to
Oh,
the small screen.
It's just gonna be a fucking grim dark show. That's what it's gonna be.
Then it's not. I have to assume that they're going to try to capture the spirit of Fallout in its entirety, though, and that means keeping in the silliness. Because Fallout is exceedingly silliness and corny. It's exceedingly silly and corny. That's part of its charm.
I think a lot of the silliness might come from like actual vault-based, like vault tech-based interactions, and like the characters are gonna be stuck in like a serious kind of gritty world, but then there's all of this weird retro 50s vibe around that they're just kind of dealing with, and it could still be satirical without being necessarily like a comedy. I don't know. I think if you treat it properly, it's possible to do it. I don't know if they'll pull it off, but I think it could actually be a decent show.
All right, we'll take a look. Let's go up to the chat one more time. Let's see. Ector Penguin says Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider would be an interesting TV show. The problem is that's kind of been done heavily in the 90s when you all had those like Adventure Incs and crap. What were all the 90s shows where they were all going out globetrotting around the world solving mysteries and shit? And I can't think of them. I know there was Relic Hunter that had Michael Biehn in it. Or not Relic Hunter. Oh, Relic Hunter was the one that had Wayne's girlfriend from Wayne's World. I can't remember her name. There was Adventure Inc. that had Michael Biehn in it. There was yeah, that's her name. So there was a series of those in the 90s. I couldn't get over that style if I was watching a Tomb Raider one. Such Frank says, I don't know, because The Witcher has the books to pull from as well as the games. Relating to your comment about The Witcher being a good show, there is a lot more source material for the series of The Witcher than there would be for Fallout, but keep in mind Fallout has existed since the early 90s, and they do have multiple Bibles.
That's why I don't necessarily want them to try and pull things like, don't make Fallout 4 the TV show, because that show's going to suck. But if you're pulling from everything from Fallout 1 and beyond, then I think that there's a good amount of stuff. Like if you can nail the vibe of the show right, and you could tell a new story in the wasteland, that's what I would want.
That's what I hope they do too, but I don't think they're necessarily going to go that route. It's like the Last of Us movie. You know how they're making that Last of Us movie, but it's going to be about Joel and Ellie. I don't want a recreation of the first game. Give me a Last of Us movie with new characters in that world, because I would love to see that. I'd be down for that.
The only question is, are we going to get this Fallout show before or after we get that fucking Monster Hunter movie?
Before. That Monster Hunter movie's never coming out.
Dude, it's hell of coming out. There's all kinds of production shit online you can find.
I refuse to believe that movie's existence, even if it is in my hands.
Yeah, dude. Ong Bak 8. Who knows how good it's going to be.
Captain Ice Cold says, I don't know, a Mandalorian-style show could work, where it's just kind of an adventure, rather than having a big, what's your adventure of the week kind of shit with maybe 2 or 3 keystone episodes. I can see that. Let's see. There's also Fallout is interesting because it'll be fun to immerse in, but whereas Witcher is fun to be immersed in, but it's a bit more of the world that's interesting in. Let me reread that. Fallout is interesting because it's fun to be immersed in, but whereas The Witcher is fun to be immersed in a bit, but it's more the world that's interesting in it.
So the world of The Witcher is more interesting, but being inside of Fallout is more interesting.
Okay. I was having a hard time kind of deciphering that one there. Thank you.
The immersion factor for Fallout is more interesting, whereas the surrounding story is more interesting. Which
that makes
hopefully
sense.
I got that right, and I'm not just making shit up.
We'll see. David, that's not the only TV show getting. That's not the only video game getting a TV show. However, this comes from the Hollywood Reporter. Action video game My Friend Pedro is getting a TV adaptation. Now, for those of you who don't know, My Friend Pedro is essentially Devolver Digital's take on Deadpool, the video game. You play a guy.
How is it getting a TV show?
That's a good question.
But how much of it is banana?
It is a guy running around with two Uzis talking to a banana. And it is more or less Deadpool, for all intents and purposes. To the article. Under a collaboration between Legendary Television, GJ2 Entertainment, and 87 North Productions, the game will be an R-rated half-hour dramedy series written and executive produced by John Wick co-creator Derek Kostlin. What do you think?
I have no idea what to do with this. My friend Pedro is the least likely thing I would have said if you asked me a day ago, hey, what other games do you think are getting a TV adaptation? It wouldn't even cross my mind.
I guarantee you they're going
not even my top 25. Not even my top 100.
I didn't even think the game was all that great. It was all right, but it wasn't great. This is deliberately designed, much like the game was, to ape off Deadpool. Cool. This is going to essentially be Deadpool, the TV series. And we had that already, directed by, what was it? He made a pilot for it. It got canceled. Donald Glover, I believe. Actually made a Deadpool pilot with his brother, and they voiced it. It exists, and it didn't go anywhere. That's what this feels like. Is that?
I mean, I'm all for people getting their projects greenlit, so go these guys. That's cool.
It just feels weird that it's my friend Pedro.
It's strange to me. I wouldn't have picked it. I don't know how or what they said in the pitch room to get these guys to say, "You get the money to make this show." That sounds great. So. They have to be doing something right. So I'm actually more excited for this than I am for, the Monster Hunter movie.
Do you think this could be one of Devolver Digital's like early access things?
What?
Where Derek Kolstad has no idea he's actually writing this series until he got this news. He's like, what the fuck?
Maybe.
We'll see. Salty Frank says, I hope it has some single shot action scenes like season 1 of Daredevil. Okay, so there is potential for that because my friend Deadpool is very much John Wick, John Woo, Daredevil-ish action. If you can have some amazing fight scenes in there, the problem is I don't see my friend Pedro commanding the budget to pull off one of those.
Dude, the one shot or the one take shot thing is still sick. I'm gonna go back because I know we're making fun of Monster Hunter, but the only reason why that movie's even interesting is because Tony Jaa's in it, and
is that why you called it On Bach 8? I didn't even know that. Hey, Paul W.S. Anderson did make one good film, and it's called Event Horizon.
But yeah, it's like a hotel scene where he shows up on the bottom floor and fights his way all the way up like the stairwell in this hotel, and it's flipping amazing.
I think I've seen it. Robot Chicken parodied it for one of their season openers.
Probably. And dude gets knocked off like the third floor and crashes into a gazebo on the bottom floor.
Yeah, those one-shot take films are actually really cool. I'd recommend if you haven't seen it, 1917, by the way, if you're looking for that.
Or the end of season 2 of that fucking Karate Kid YouTube show.
I haven't seen season 2 yet. Shit, they do one of those in there?
Hell yeah,
Fuck, I gotta watch it.
They do a huge fight scene at the end of season 2.
God damn, I haven't started season 2 yet. David, we do have more kind of TV adjacent stuff related coming up. Yes. Why don't you lead this one here?
Breaking Bad's Giancarlo Esposito is working on a big video game that he can't tell you about. This story is from GameSpot.
Now, real quick, is it Giancarlo or Giancarlo? Because I thought it was like Giancarlo, like hella Italian.
I thought it was Giancarlo because isn't Esposito a Spanish name?
I thought it was an Italian name.
I have no idea.
Neither do I.
Approximately this way.
I did look up to see where he was born at to see if I could get an accurate pronunciation, and he's born in like the fucking Netherlands, so that doesn't help either one of us in this case.
Shit. Okay. Anyway, Breaking Bad and The Mandalorian star G. Esposito will be featured in a big upcoming video game, but he cannot tell you about it yet. Speaking to Collider, they're a magazine. Esposito provided just a tiny tease saying that he worked on the game earlier in 2020 using some kind of new technology. I'm assuming this is probably some kind of like mocap, face cap.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Cap, something. This video game I did, which is going to be huge, can't really mention, Esposito said. Quote unquote, people are saying this is extremely likely to be Far Cry 6, but that's just complete hearsay. And
yeah, a lot of the gaming industry mags are saying this is rumored to be Far Cry 6 and blah blah blah. I tried to track down what the source of this rumor is. I can't find it at all. So it's what it sounds like more than what happened when people are saying it's going to be Far Cry. And I do actually believe it's going to be Far Cry 6 myself. But I've got nothing to base that off of, and I don't think any of these video game magazines have that to base off either. I think what happened is one of those cases of telephone where someone went, you know, it's probably Far Cry 6 because they have a history of bringing in big names for their villains, or big, larger-than-life villains, I should say. And Far Cry 6 should be out sometime early next year for all intents and purposes, from the rumor says, for whatever the next Far Cry is going to be. Far Cry 6, essentially.
I just hope it was EA and they're making a Mandalorian game.
I think he'd be a little bit more coy about that because Star Wars embargo shit is Star Wars NDAs are very, like, he wouldn't even be able to mention he was working on it.
Fair. Salty Frank says it's a physics-based game about throwing pizzas on a roof using new pizza tracking technology created by Domino's.
You know, I've actually never seen Breaking Bad, so I know what that's from. A side story, apparently the people that live in that house where Walter White, actually, where they shot that, legitimately has people just throwing pizzas on their house nonstop, and they actually have to put up signs saying, please don't fucking do this, you're ruining our property.
Jeez.
I think, though, the origin...
It goes back to the Goonies house where they had to shut it down because of people littering in front of it.
Yeah. Everyone's just taking their clothes off and doing the truffle shuffle. What I think this rumor came from, though, is that somewhere some games journalist said, hey, I bet he's in Far Cry 6, and wrote an article about it. And since the churn is so bad, and we do it too, we're talking about it, where everyone just takes a story and just reports it over and over and over again like it's, a rumor says. It's like, well, what fucking...
All right, okay, so
where's
not
the source
Far
of the
Cry
rumors?
6, what is he going to be in? Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's track it down.
He could be in anything. He could be in God of War 4. He could be in fucking, I don't know, Big Johnny John's Barbie Adventure 28.
It's more than likely
the Miles
Morales game.
Let's be fair. It's more than likely Far Cry 6. But at least normally when I go looking for something up, I can find something that say, sources suggest, or sources say, or an unnamed source here. This just says rumor. Well, okay. Where's the origin of the rumor? I can't find it. I just want to mention that out. Do I think it's Far Cry 6? Yes. Based on what I've heard from my own Ubisoft people, yes, I think that is it. But I don't like have any sources or anything like that. These are just people who aren't working on that game who do work for them who said, yeah, we think that's what it is too. Mm-hmm. Because they keep shit divided internally. Not everyone knows what everyone's working on to help minimize leaks. Not that it does Ubisoft any good because their shit leaks all the time. David?
Yes.
We have a couple of quick beats to go through here before we go ahead and get on to new releases and all that good stuff. One is the fact that the Xbox Games Showcase, you know, that they're doing that Xbox 2020 thing sometime in July where they're going to show off the Series X and some games, specifically Halo Infinite, to go along with it. We finally have a date and time for that. That's going to be July 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Woohoo!
Yeah, take a look at that.
We're going to see video games from Xbox finally.
We got 3 game announcements happening in relatively quick order with each other. One, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning has officially been confirmed, finally.
Pretty excited about that, actually.
September 8th is when that launches on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. I am looking forward to that, too. I never actually finished the first time around, but I remember it was a blast to play. Yeah,
I also think they're adding stuff.
Yeah, there is new content as well. I think they might have found some like DLC scraps that were never released, and I think they're putting them into the game itself, like unreleased content.
Cleaned it up and added voice and did all that other fun stuff. But yeah, that was a cool game. Some people call it a generic RPG, but it is the game that destroyed my PS3. So
it's also the game that destroyed Kurt Schilling's career.
Okay, let's not talk about that.
Shadow Warrior 3 was also announced. Now, if you never played Shadow Warrior, it's kind of not to beat the Deadpool thing. Let's use a different example. It's like the ninja version of Duke Nukem.
Yeah, that is very accurate and timely for when the original was released.
Also, did you ever play any of the Shadow Warriors?
Yeah. I don't remember which one, but Shadow Warriors are funny.
Yeah, they're fun. They're not bad. Cool. Take protagonist Lo Wang to town. And yes, that is his name, Lo Wang.
Don't they have co-op as well?
I don't remember if it was co-op or not. I remember liking the second one, but I don't remember if it was co-op. And then finally, what I'm most excited about, we have Spider's new game announced called Steel Rising.
With the least informative reveal trailer of all time.
Now, if you don't know, I've talked about Spiders a lot on this channel. Spiders are the developer that did Greedfall and Techromancer and all that stuff. They're a studio that I have said multiple times, every single game they do gets a little bit better than the last one. And I see a lot of potential in their work. So I'm really excited for Steel Rising. The description is simple. Louis the XVI's automations are running rampant over France, and you have to lead a rebellion against them. And I love the idea of clockwork robots in the French Revolution. I can't tell you why.
I mean, it is pretty cool.
And that's all we know. It's called Steel Rising. Little teaser trailer shows a French revolutionary that also looks like a mannequin holding a French flag, fighting a bunch of Dishonored-esque clockwork people charging her. We don't know if it's a first-person shooter or an action game or an RPG or what. Given Spider's pedigree, it's probably an RPG. But with that setting, I don't know if they can really do an RPG. But we'll see. We will see.
Could be anything.
One thing left as we wrap up the news, by the way. There is one thing to watch out for, and that is the aforementioned Ubisoft Way Forward. That is going to be July 12th, which is Sunday at 12 p.m. I'm sure we'll see.
Also, if you watch that on your computer with your Ubisoft account linked to it, you get a free copy of Watch Dogs 2. That is a thing that they are doing.
You know, Watch Dogs 2, not that bad.
Yeah, I don't remember the details or how exactly you have to work it out. I should have given you guys a link, but that's okay. I'll make Steven do it later.
No, I'm not going to do it. Just look up free copy of Watch Dogs 2, and you'll probably find it.
Or just watch the thing, and you'll be good.
Watch Dogs 2, way better than the first one, and it's what should have been the first game in that franchise, because Watch Dogs 1 was just cold and generic and boring, in my opinion. But he had his iconic hat.
So did not live up to that original hype trailer. Man, that game looks so amazing the first time we saw it.
Yeah, I remember that too. That's when I kind of started realizing, wait a minute, maybe what they're showing us isn't really what the game is going to be. Because I used to be like all aboard on the hype. Watch Dogs specifically was the first trailer that made me go,
Ah, shit.
Maybe they're lying to us. That's kind of what started me on this path that ties us into how we started the show, roughly.
Yep.
David, Ubisoft Forward is...
Really, really quick, I do have to give a small shout-out. Happy 20th birthday, Final Fantasy IX.
Ah, you would call out the worst of the PlayStation games.
Dude, I'm pretty sure I called out 8 and 7 when they had birthdays.
I don't think you did. You might have.
Pretty sure. Somebody go look up our September 9th, 2019 video and see if I said anything about Final Fantasy VIII.
Look up our September 9th, 2019 video and see if he fucking honored the Dreamcast like a good boy. Or if he just didn't say shit.
I think I did both.
You probably did. David, Ubisoft Forward isn't until Sunday. I'm going to be bored between now and then, so what can I play to keep myself occupied because I have a fucking attention span of a ant?
Yeah, and you like spending $70 on video games.
I can count on one hand the number of times I actually paid for a game this year. I will have you know.
All right, yeah. Anyway,
my hand just has steady fingers.
Catherine Full Body comes out on Switch this week. This is the same Catherine game. It's the Full Body's like the definitive edition or complete edition or whatever the hell you want to call it.
It comes with a new romanceable character. There's some side story stuff, a couple of different endings, but for the most part, the gameplay is identical.
Yeah. So Catherine, if you have no idea what it is a kind of adventure-y, weird, quirky game about a dude who like cheated on his girlfriend with another girl named Catherine, and then has to go through his subconscious and figuring out what the hell he's gonna do about it. And
it's really good, but that the gameplay can turn people off because it's essentially a block sliding puzzle game.
Yeah.
It's been out for
a while. I have no idea how well it's aged, but it's on Switch now, so you can find out for yourself.
Yeah, I really like it. I do recommend Catherine in general.
Superliminal comes out on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a first-person puzzle game based on forced perspective and optical illusions. So puzzles kind of give you that weird sense of you don't know how it's going to turn out, and you have to actually kind of think outside of your perspective and figure your way out around things. The trailer kind of gave me some Stanley Parable vibes. It seems like it has a little bit of a narrator. I don't know if that's just part of the trailer, but I think it's in the gameplay as well, where you're trying to kind of figure stuff out with somebody talking to you.
I would recommend everyone take a look at this trailer to begin with, because it is impossible to describe what this game does without a visual to go along with it.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Robo Zaro comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a physics-based 2D action game where robots, BO3 and O Ramatron, embark on an epic quest through the outskirts, underbelly, and rooftop of Mech Angeles. To uncover the mystery surrounding the disappearance of Dr. Zaro. Anyway,
you know what bothers me about Mech Angeles?
It is a robo shooter.
What bothers me about Mech Angelus is that it implies that these robots believe in a god and angels. And I don't like that.
I think they just used the same name that the locals used.
Mech Angelus?
Yeah.
Who the fuck would name their city Mech Angelus if you weren't a robot?
Who knows?
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, David.
That's okay. You don't have to. Also out this week, Crosscode comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Crosscode, I think, has been on Steam for a bit. This is that
I'm almost positive it has been.
2D action RPG set in a distant future. It's very much got that 16-bit SNES style graphics, but with fast-paced combat, really good physics, puzzle mechanics, and a sci-fi story. I remember us talking about this game, and I thought it looked pretty damn cool. So maybe take a look at that. This is actually probably Switch bait for me, honestly. Great Perhaps comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This has also been on Steam for a while. This game is reviewed pretty well. Time-traveling puzzle game about an astronaut returning to Earth destroyed by natural cataclysms. Amongst the ruins, he finds an unusual artifact, an old lantern, in the light of which you can see glimpses of another time and travel to the past.
All right, that sounds like it might be up my alley.
All right. Distraint 2 is a ridiculous name for a video game, but it's out on PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a adventure story horror game. You play as a man named Price, who sold his humanity to get a partnership from a leading company, McDade, Bruton, and more. Distraint 2 follows on the events from the first game. It's a sinister tale about restoring hope and finding your purpose. This is, I feel like there's been a lot of these like side-scrolling adventure / psychological horror games.
Everyone wants to be the next Braid or Limbo or whatever new company.
But not just that. It's specifically like that psychological horror where it's like kind of got the dark undertone and there's creepy shit and all that thing. I feel like there's a lot of those games.
I play a lot of those games on stream. The problem is, David, is that everyone thinks they can make a good one, but it requires more work than I think people realize. I think a lot of people go into them. I'm not bashing Distraint, by the way. I haven't played it. I don't even know about it. It could be great. But I think the reason why you see so many of those games popping up because everyone goes, oh, I can make a game like that real quick. Here's some dark lighting. Here's some weird shit. It's kind of creepy. And go, make money. To get a real good psychological horror game, like what I like the stuff that Bloober Team does, for example, requires even more talent than you would imagine, because to truly make a horror game, the atmosphere needs to be on point 100% of the time. Even a slight break in atmosphere just pulls you out of it, and then instantly that fear is gone. So to make a truly great horror game, or even something that's supposed to be unsettling, you need to keep the player's attention 100% of the time, and that is not easy to do from a game dev standpoint. Especially if you're relying only on like a mechanic that's like, figure out this puzzle, now figure out this puzzle, now figure out this puzzle, because then the horror stops being the focus and the puzzle starts being the focus, and it's no longer a horror game. So it's just really difficult to pull off.
Gotta balance it out. You need a good amount of puzzle and a good amount of spook. Maybe a little combat, maybe a little stealth, maybe a room full of explosive barrels. Nope, I'm talking about Half-Life again. Damn it.
I was wondering where you're going with that. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Anyway, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2 comes out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Koji's back. Igarashi and NT Creates are back with more retro-styled sword and whip action. Curse of the Moon 2 brings classic 2D action and a dark 8-bit aesthetic together with modern playability.
It's a new Castlevania for all intents and purposes. And I don't mean Metroidvania. I mean like Nintendo Castlevania.
Yep, this is an 8-bit Castlevania made by the guy that made Castlevania. It's called Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. And it was like that side project / Kickstarter goal for when they were going to do the Bloodstained game.
And it was really good.
And it was really damn good. And people fucking love the first Curse of the Moon. So that's actually pretty exciting. NASCAR Heat 5 comes out for PS4, Xbox One, and PC. This is basically at this point, yearly NASCAR game. They just went with Heat and a number instead of 2020. You're trying to become the new NASCAR guy. It's got all the different official teams, drivers, cars from the 3 NASCAR district series.
You race around in your NASCAR and you do NASCAR stuff. Yeah,
39 authentic tracks. It's got the Extreme Dirt Tour. You could drive trucks if you want. Stock cars haven't been stock cars since you weren't able to buy them in a showroom. So I don't know. You guys have fun.
I can hear the disdain in your voice for this.
We go left most of the time, and sometimes we go right. And I understand that it's difficult because unlike other racing series, all the cars actually kind of are the same, and they're going really, really fucking fast, and they've got big, loud engines. But there's a reason most people only tune in for the crashes. It's just so they took something that has a human operating at like a really high level and they made it the most dull thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm sure actually doing it is tense because it's not just, it's like you fuck up for 1 second, you're in trouble.
You're going 200 miles an hour and this thing is screaming at you and these people are telling you all this stuff and you got to make sure your tires are staying on and holding on to this thing and when I'm watching it on TV, they're just going around, and around, and I'm bored.
As an activity, is fun to do. As entertainment, is boring as shit.
Yeah. Although, speaking of entertainment, let's talk about F1 2020. PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia. What? There's a Stadia exists? They didn't cancel that already?
Did you notice how good? Keep talking. I'm going to look up the official Stadia account on Twitter and see when the last time they posted anything was.
So this is actually kind of fun because F1 2020 allows you to create your own F1 team for the first time in the game franchise's history and race alongside the official teams and drivers, as opposed to just picking one of the existing teams and using that. You can actually make your own from scratch. And I was kind of wondering because a lot of times these games follow along with what's going on in the season, but racing hasn't really been happening, so this is cool to me. You can also challenge your friends. It's got split screen now. They didn't have split screen before. It's got casual race option for relaxed racing. It's got all 22 circuits, current and classic content, and I like F1 a lot more than I like NASCAR. I'm not gonna lie.
The official count for Stadia on Twitter is roughly for the month of June looks to be about 20 posts, so it's averaging less than 1 post a day. For a major brand account that is trying to garner games, like just information on the games every fucking day, that's not good. It's not bad. I thought it was one of those things where they posted maybe once a week, so it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's nowhere near as good as it should be for a major video game platform.
There you go.
By comparison, go ahead.
That being said, if anybody else watches F1, seriously, Ferrari, what are you guys doing?
By comparison, the official PlayStation account has tweeted 10 times today alone.
That makes sense. They got stuff to say. I mean,
random social media metrics to kind of just
see if you can find anywhere listed the number of concurrent Stadia subscribers, and I would bet that you cannot. And there's been no public-facing release with that number because, as we mentioned multiple times, if you've got good news, you're shouting it from the rooftops. If you've got bad news, you're quiet as hell. And I haven't heard Google being like, Stadia's a huge hit. We've got 8 million users on Stadia. We've got, I don't know.
I have something. A quick impromptu thing. This is from January 6th. This is from January 6th, so 7 months ago. This from a website called comicyears.com. Gudia Stadia Play account dropping fast 1 month after launch. So let's see here.
Hold on.
So using
really quick, who said I bet more people have bought WinRAR this year than Stadia.
It's a good thing. So here's this paragraph right here. So we don't have a concurrent player account for the console, so they're not basing this on anything that's coming from Stadia, but they are basing it on numbers they can get from Destiny.
Oh, the number of Stadia players in Destiny.
Yes. Based on new numbers on Destiny 2's player count show a concerning trend. On November 26th, nearly 20,000 people played Destiny 2 on the Stadia. On the first week of January, 8,000 people played on Stadia. So that means that dropped by more than half.
Dude, that's like a small town.
How many current people are playing on there right now? Don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Probably
I wish I did. Man, you're right. I feel like this should be it. I feel like there should be some kind of number somewhere.
Why would they say it? They don't have to. Because the only person that would actually be able to release the actual like Stadia numbers would be Google.
Yeah, and like you've mentioned,
everything else is going to be speculation.
Yeah, as you mentioned, well, you can kind of piece together some things. For example, I don't think Microsoft has ever told us how many Xbox Ones have sold, but we can piece together what other companies have said about it and get an accurate idea.
Mm-hmm.
David,
But I don't think we're selling things. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Also, at this week's Sword Art Online, elitization licoris.
yeah, you were bitching about Distraint being a bad name.
Anyway, PS4, Xbox One, PC. It's a Sword Art Online game. It's got action-packed real-time battles with combination of sword skills, sacred arts, and your favorite SAO characters. Looks Bandai Namco-y. If you get the vibe,
I know exactly what you mean when you say that, which is kind of shame because I've never actually pieced that together.
Yeah, you can just. It's like saying something's a Dynasty Warriors game, but I don't mean a Dynasty Warriors game. I mean it looks Bandai Namco-y.
Yeah, no, so. I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly when you say that.
It kind of has that like the Dragon Ball fighting game vibe, not the 2D one, but like
I couldn't think of what fucking Dragon Ball was. That's why I was like just repeating myself.
You know, Blade vibe, that One Punch game vibe,
or One Piece.
The Naruto game vibe. It looks a lot like that, but Sword Art Online characters.
Right.
Where it kind of has that over-the-shoulder view when it looks like you're slashing bad guys, and it's not a ton of bad guys, which is why I don't make a Dynasty Warriors comparisons. And if you really like Sword Art Online, you probably like this, much like all those other games. If you really like those franchises, you might like those. And last but not least, Deadly Premonition 2: A Blessing in Disguise comes out on Switch. This is being called the true sequel
this was coming
to Deadly Premonition, and it's on Switch.
Totally forgot this was a thing. This is releasing to such little fanfare given how culty the first one was. Like, people were like excited that Deadly Premonition 1 was coming, or 2 was coming. And now this is just getting released to almost no fanfare. It feels...
But it's only on Switch, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Horror thriller. You actually jump back and forth between time in this game. I think you jump from like 2005 to 2008 as you're trying to
sounds about right.
solve a serial murder case. And it's produced by the original team.
I'm not gonna lie. I tried playing Deadly Premonition. It's not for me. I was like, I get why this has a cult following. There are certain things I can look at and go, yes, I understand why there's a segment of the population that really love this. I thought it would be for me because it's kind of right up my alley. I just tried it. I just could not. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't handle it.
What are you gonna do? But that's all I got. I'm out.
David, that does it for new releases, which means that also does it for the show. This has been GamePoints episode 225. We stream live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at Twitch TV/GamePoints, where we encourage you to join the conversation. Much like Penguin, Captain Ice Cold, Salty Frank, and to all the lurkers out there we're doing as well. Didn't necessarily read every name out there, but I appreciate you all showing up. If you can't join us live, however, you can also comment down below at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. Regardless of where you show, if you want to be if you want to be part of the greater GamePoints community, you can join the Discord server link provided down below. You can follow the show on Twitter at GamePointsPC. You can follow myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, and you can follow David there at Palshlife_Satori. We'll be back next week, probably talking about the Ubisoft Forward, and hopefully, please, for the love of God, not more horrible shit happening in this hell pit of an industry. Let me just have one day where I don't have to talk about fucking stories that ick me out. Please?
That'd be nice.
But that aside, I hope you all have a good week. And until next time, we're out of here.